Hello aspirants, looking at news for 26 November 2016. The 9 news items which we have picked up from the Hindu are these. We'll discuss them in detail. The first one, Supreme Court refuses to order probe into Sahara Birla papers. So these were papers, documents recovered during the raids in the offices of Aditya Birla Group and Sahara Groups in 2013 and 14 by the IT department, Income Tax Department. So these papers show entries of massive bribes being paid to high-profile politicians and ministers. So these papers also name a 2012 entry in which the payment in this Aditya Birla Group payment being done to Gujarat CM. So the petition in the Supreme Court filed on this matter asking for a probe into this. This matter has to be referred to and examined. So an SIT special investigation team probe should be conducted in this is the demand of the petition. But the Supreme Court has said that this is not enough evidence. There is need for more evidence on the matter. Just anybody putting in a comment Gujarat CM in an entry in a document is having no authenticity. So what is the authenticity here? So if you are giving more evidence, we'll refer the matter further. Otherwise, we'll dismiss the matter. So this is the Supreme Court stand. So that is the news. So they were indicting, even Delhi CM Arvind Kejriwal said that this Gujarat CM at that time means it was Mr. Narendra Modi. So he has to be prosecution and investigation has to start against him. So they were asking for more investigation in the matter. But Supreme Court says this is not sufficient to evoke a conscience. We need more evidence. So that is the matter. Now, the next news item, Bangladesh to honor 1668 martyrs of the Indian Army. So, Indian Army played a major role in independence of Bangladesh. That is called Bangladesh Liberation War. Also, we know it as India-Pakistan War of 1971. So, all the martyrs, Indian soldiers who died during this war, they have been identified. There are 1668 soldiers identified by Bangladesh, and presently when in December 2016, Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina will visit India, she is going to provide rupees 6 lakh as a mark of respect to every family of these 1668 martyrs. So this is the initiation taken. Also a war memorial is planned to be constructed in Bangladesh to pay homage to these Indian soldiers. So now, to understand what was this whole background, we should know about India-Pakistan war and the cause of this war. So it was actually a war between East Pakistan and West Pakistan. In 1947, when India and Pakistan became independent nations, Pakistan then was comprising of two parts, geographically separated. What we today know as Pakistan was West Pakistan, and what we know today as Bangladesh was East Pakistan. So it was in 1971 that East Pakistan became Bangladesh, an independent nation, and that was with assistance from India. So then Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi provided support to East Pakistan, that is Bangladesh. So that is how, why did we provide support to, and what was the cause for this whole struggle to, was that East Pakistan, that is present day Bangladesh, was not given enough political power. They were deprived politically and financially, administratively. The civil services elite, the armed forces had not enough representation from East Pakistan. So West Pakistan was called the powerhouse, the capital Islamabad also lied here. So that became a trouble. Because there was not enough representation given here, because it was also geographically separated. So these grievances were already there from 1947 till 1971. Plus, in 1971, when elections were conducted for Pakistan, Awami League, a political party from present-day Bangladesh, got majority. It got a clear majority, means it would form the government in Islamabad. So West Pakistan was not ready to give up power and to allow a party from East Pakistan to rule the entire nation. So they rejected these results. So this caused clear trigger for independence. So East Pakistan realized, because these were Bengali speaking population and West Pakistan considered itself the elite, the Urdu speaking population. So this discrimination was clearly there and became very evident, and eventually the protest started in East Pakistan, Bangladesh against Pakistan, West Pakistan, and eventually when the armed forces entered here, the conflict which erupted, India also provided support because there was a huge influx of refugees from Bangladesh into India too. So India was having this pretext, this ground for initiating or stepping in, because India was also being affected, we said, because of the Bangladeshi struggle. So we provided full support to Awami League, to the protesters and in Bangladesh, and eventually the war resulted in a clear win for India. Pakistan surrendered and Bangladesh formed as an independent nation. So this is the entire struggle you should know about. So this you can clearly see here, 16th December 1971, Pakistan army surrendered and Bangladesh was formed. Then the next news item is Supreme Court bans sale on firecrackers in NCR, National Capital Region, that is Delhi. NCR is a much larger region than NCT. National Capital Territory Delhi is the Union Territory, but National Capital Region of Delhi and Delhi NCR comprises of not just Delhi but regions, urban areas from adjoining states, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan as well. So this entire Delhi NCR, the Supreme Court has asked for a ban on sale of firecrackers. So it has banned fresh issuance of licenses to sell firecrackers, plus all licenses already issued to sell firecrackers have been suspended. So this is the order by Supreme Court. Plus it has also asked Center Pollution Control Board to make a study of the harmful effects of the harmful materials which are present in these firecrackers. So it's going to submit its report to the Supreme Court in 3 months. So it says that there are cancerous diseases also caused due to these materials. So on the basis of the study done, further action can be taken. So this is the order. This was also a petition filed by 3 children, by their parents on behalf of these 3 children who were suffering from air pollution. So we've already seen that air pollution levels were quite high in Delhi. So this is another action taken by Supreme Court on the matter. Then the next news is HIV community rejects AIDS bill in current form. So we have already discussed about HIV and AIDS bill, which was planned to be put forth before the parliament and was approved by the cabinet. But the final draft of the bill which has come out is different from what was earlier put forth. So the difference is presently on the issue of treatment for HIV/AIDS. So originally earlier the bill called for treatment, antiretroviral treatment for HIV/AIDS would be made available. So the HIV/AIDS activists felt that this would provide right to treatment for HIV/AIDS people, because India is also called pharmacy to the world. It is known for bringing out medicines for treatment of these life-threatening diseases, including HIV/AIDS. So presently the stand taken by the government is that it will not look into treatment aspect, but the bill says that it will concentrate on prevention of HIV and AIDS as far as possible. So it will look only into prevention aspect, and that too as far as possible. So this has been protested against. That why is there is dilution to right to access of treatment being brought in, when India has the capacity to provide antiretroviral drugs to patients. So patients have to wait in a long list to make sure that they get sufficient treatment, when India has the capacity to provide for the same. So this is the question being put forth. Another issue which is there with this bill is about injection safety program. So this injection safety program, because injection is one of the way in which HIV spreads to. So when these used syringes are used, it results in spread of the HIV/AIDS. So then there is a need for replacement of these syringes, making sure that safe injection program is in place. So for this matter too, there are injections which are used by drug users too. So these injecting drug users, IDUs as it is said, they have also to be provided with fresh syringes. So on this matter now, the sterile needle which is needed for that, if any activist, any person is providing, any volunteer is providing these safe needles to these IDUs, it results in prosecution on them, because they are using illegal drugs. So there will be prosecution on the person too. But there is a requirement that these drug users should also be safeguarded, because then it would result in them being affected, and that virus would spread to HIV virus. So this is the point on which again the activists are claiming that rather than supporting injection safety requirements, the government is neglecting that aspect in the bill. This is a point put forth, a very controversial issue, but then that is the case because internationally too injection safety programs have to be in place. So there are drug users, they have to be de-addicted, but as long as they are not, at least providing them safe needles, sterile needles is important. Then the next news item is bullish investors back Team Indus moonshot. So this is regarding is a startup from India which is planning to send India's first privately funded spacecraft to moon in 2017. So Team Indus was started in 2012. In 2014 it got angel backing from the angel investor for it, that is Mr. Nandan Nilekani, who is Infosys co-founder. We have already seen few days back what is angel investor. So angel investor is a person who from its own personal wealth supports a startup. So he is called an angel investor. So he is presently Nandan Nilekani is the single largest investor in this company, Team Indus. Plus presently the news is that it has got support from 3 major investors in the stock market who have picked up stake in Team Indus. So this is the news right now. So overall mission cost is rupees 450 crores. And what it is planning to achieve is the Google Lunar X Prize. So it wants to win this Google Lunar X Prize, which is $30 million prize, equivalent to rupees 200 crore. What is the aim of or the mission of Google Lunar X Prize? We'll see in a while. So it has already won $1 million milestone prize of Google Lunar X already. So this was awarded in 2015 because of the milestone achieved by Team Indus. So there are 16 teams which are contesting and presently part of Google Lunar X Prize competition. So we'll see that too. What is this Google Lunar X Prize? So this company is planning to build a 600 kg moon lander, and it will hire PSLV rocket of ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization. This is PSLV, Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle. So this is the most successful launch vehicle of ISRO, which will be used by Team Indus to launch its moon lander. So what is this Google Lunar X Prize? So Google Lunar X Prize is to any private team with no more than 10% government funding, which must land a robo on the moon, which should move 500 meters on or above the moon's surface and send back HDTV mooncasts to everyone. So this is the mission. This challenge so far only US, former Soviet Union and China have achieved soft landing on the moon. Even India's Chandrayaan-1, the moon mission launched by ISRO in 2008, it made a hard landing. So that rocket had crashed on impact. So that is an exception of Indian mission. The reward which is there, it was target deadline was to end of 2015. Now it has extended to end of 2017. So there is a deadline till 2017. So this will be the award. Prize money has also been increased. So this will be $1 million aerospace contract which would be provided to these team which wins this Google Lunar X Prize. So that will be the Team Indus is one of the contenders from India which is planning to achieve this. Then this you can see there are 16 teams in competition and 4 of them have secured verified launch contracts for 2017. So these 3 have secured. So let's see where does Team Indus reach to in this competition. Then the next news item is who settles India-EU medicine dispute. So it is World Health Organization's working group on substandard, spurious, falsely labeled, falsified, counterfeit medical products, which has presently ruled that inferior quality medicines can only be defined as falsified and they cannot be called counterfeit drugs. So this is a major victory for India's generic drugs, which are used to treat life-threatening diseases across the globe. So India's generic drugs are exported specially to developing countries, and European Union was blocking these shipments through its continent. So this happened in 2008 and 2009 as well, when nearly 20 shipments of generic drugs from India, including even basic antibiotics and also antiretroviral drugs for HIV/AIDS treatment, were detained while in transit from India to developing countries through Europe. So this has affected even the India-EU free trade agreement negotiations because they call it violation of intellectual property rights, and this is another way calling them counterfeit was another way by these Western pharmaceutical companies and countries to block India's generic drugs. So this is a major victory for India and for global access to drugs for life-threatening diseases. So this is the news right now. This you can see the drugs, diseases and the drugs, the medicine, drug means medicine, which are used to treat these diseases. So these are having IPR, but since these are life-threatening diseases, India also produces generic drugs for them, and this is the price per month for a person undergoing this treatment in US and in India. So this is the percentage of price which India's generic drugs charge. So this is the reason why India is called pharmacy to the world. Then the next news item is landmark ruling deals blow to UK deportation program. So it is about ETS, Educational Testing Services. This is an American company which is established since 2010, which was conducting tests at its various centers in UK too for different levels of English language proficiency, which are required for different types of visas in UK. So they were recognized by UK government. So in 2014, BBC Panorama conducted an investigation and found evidence of fraud in one of these ETS centers. So this acted as a trigger, and British government, the British Home Office, started a deportation program. So what is this? Deportation means sending the person back to his own country from where he came, because the visa which he has acquired, there is evidence that there was fraud involved. So this over 4,000 were deported by British Home Office under this deportation program. But presently the news is that the Court of Appeal in London in its judgment has said that this was not justified. There is a need for reviewing the past, current and future cases of deportation by British Home Office, because just based on one trigger you cannot call and suspect all those who have acquired visa through ETS testing centers as illegal. So this is the judgment. And the next news item is Centre forms committee to push cashless transactions. So the Centre has formed a new committee now headed by Niti Aayog CEO Amitabh Kant, which will look into strategy to quicken the process of transforming India into a cashless economy. So it has been asked to identify various bottlenecks which affect access to digital payments. So it wants at least 80% of the transactions in India should be in cashless mode in digital format. So digital platforms have to be used. So how can this be achieved is the objective of this committee. It has been asked to even look into the way in which payments being made by citizens to government should be through digital format, so that digital payments are cheaper than cash transactions. So to find out ways to implement this is also one of the objectives. It has been asked to rope in even the common service centers which are already in place. What are common service centers? We'll look into. So there the merchants should be trained, help should be provided to merchants to train them into digital payment modes. So common service centers can be roped in for this. They will be asked to train 10 merchants to use mobile wallets or get swipe machines to encourage digital payments. So this is one of the decisions which have been taken. Plus it is also in place that we have an e-payment system through which both individuals as well as businesses can make payments to the government departments, any central or state department. So this is a project already underway. We have discussed in news earlier too, if you should recollect. So this will also be expedited. So these are the provisions which have been put forth, which can be put into effect. Now looking at what is common service centers too. So we have a national e-governance plan, NEGP, and there are various sub-plans under it. This is NEGP-A, but just ignore this A. NEGP is a complete mission, so there are sub-missions under it. One of them is agriculture. So NEGP was launched in 2006 to improve public service delivery, so make e-governance possible. So government to citizen, government to business, G2G, G2E, G2B. So government to government is G2G. G2B is government to business, and G2C is government to citizens, not E. So all these will take place through e-payment, e-mode, all transactions. So these are the NEGP program. So under this there are 3 specific infrastructural requirements, and these are: one is common service centers, which we have, which has been mentioned above, state-wide area network and state data centers. And under this, there are mission mode projects. So one of the mission mode projects was agriculture. So these NEGP infrastructure components, state-wide area network means network, internet network, secured network for government work connecting state headquarters, district headquarters and block headquarters. So a statewide, all state headquarters is connected with all district headquarters and block headquarters. So this is minimum 2 Mbps broadband connectivity should be there. So this is one, statewide area network. Then second infrastructure requirement for NEGP is state data centers. So these state data centers are for e-delivery. So these are data centers, one each at every state and union territory. Earlier it was 35, now there are 36, means 29 plus 7 union territories. So these will have all the provisions for ensuring that G2G, G2C and G2B services are provided. We just discussed them. So these are state data centers which should be there, and plus at the lowest level we have common service centers. So these are like kiosks. So these are telecenters, around more than 1 lakh telecenters should be implemented in villages. So since this is for agriculture, it talks of villages, but all over in villages as well as cities, which will provide broadband internet connectivity. So you generally see kiosks. So these are common service centers, government provided kiosks where you can access some websites, some basic online platforms can be accessed through this. So this is also through a PPP mode, that is public-private partnership mode, that these common service centers have been established under NEGP. So what the news is presently talking of is this common service centers be used to train merchants in going for at least either swipe machines or for mobile wallets. So that is under the program for transiting into a cashless economy. So this last is about common service centers, again shown here. So you can see it is under NEGP. It gives you further details what we have already discussed. Then the next news item is higher funds for smaller aircrafts on regional routes. So the government has already announced regional connectivity scheme. So under this, regional routes, neglected regional routes to remote areas in the country and also northeastern states which are not having sufficient air connectivity will be subsidized. So aircrafts flying to these routes will be subsidized through a levy which will be imposed on tickets booked under other regional routes and also international flights. So this is a 2% levy which will be imposed on every ticket purchased for other routes, and this levy will be put into a regional connectivity fund, and this will fund the regional connectivity to these remote areas, especially in the northeastern states too. So this is the plan of the government. It had also announced under this regional connectivity scheme that 1 hour flight would cost rupees 2,500. So that was also assured by the government. So subsidies for this will be provided through the government, and presently the news is that it will provide higher subsidy to smaller aircrafts. Means if it is a 20-seater aircraft, there will be 30% more subsidy for such planes than to 40-seater and 70-seater aircrafts. So because smaller aircrafts will be used on routes where there is not enough demand, so these smaller aircrafts will be more funded. So this is the justification for this initiative. So 80% funding will be coming through this 2% levy, and remaining 20% funding for regional connectivity will be from the states. And the government expects that rupees 400 crore will come into this regional connectivity fund every year, through which the subsidies can be provided. So at present there are 69 airports in India which receive commercial flights, but the government is expecting that in few years we'll have more than 150 to 200 airports in the country. So under regional connectivity scheme, it is also asking for construction of no-frill airports at the cost of 50 crores. No frills means not much fanfare, minimum essential being provided. So these are called no-frills airports. Also, it is calling for viability gap funding for airlines. So viability gap funding means a project which is stuck because of a little more fund which is required to make it viable, to make it implementable. So that is called viability gap funding. So this will also be provided. So these are the provisions under the regional connectivity scheme. Also, they have started Air Seva portal, which will be used for registering complaints of air passengers against airlines. So this is also an initiative taken. Airlines have also opposed this 2% levy which the government plans to impose under this regional connectivity scheme. So let's wait and watch what happens under this too. So that is it. You can download the PDF file for the entire news, editorial and question bank on the as a PDF from the website. The link to the website is provided in the description for this video. Thank you so much.